Well, good morning, everyone. First off, a thank you for the press. Years of facing the other way. We're on the other side of the room, so thank you for coming with us on that. And to everyone who's here. This is a good day, and I know, and this group up here certainly knows, the legislative process can be frustrating. It's not meant to be fast, and it's not meant to run over things. It's meant to deliberate. And back being the only divided state legislature in the country, this group of legislators, leaders, and advocates up here found a way to reach a compromise that served our frontline workers, our small businesses, and continue to deal with the COVID pandemic. That is no small thing. And I know often I've said it, and some of these folks will say it, you shouldn't get patted on the back for doing what you're supposed to do. Doing what you're supposed to do is hard in this case, and they did it. So I want to give some special thank yous before we talk about the importance of this. I want to give a thank you to the legislative leaders, Speaker Hortman and Senator Miller, for a lot of meetings, a lot of negotiations, and just a good faith understanding to come together how we're going to have to work to get these things done. I think the people of Minnesota would be proud of that. I also want to give thank yous to Senator Lopez Franson and Leader Dowd, the minority leaders who came in and kind of changed the calculus of this. And I say this to the members who are here. I served in the minority in a legislative body. It is a lonely, angry place sometimes because you get forgotten. You get that you represent your people as much as anyone else, and you have a responsibility to be part of the compromise and the decision making. This group figured out how to do that. And again, on this one, I just want to say, a week or so ago, I got a little sassy with the legislature. I do not think that's the word that the speaker used. It was not sassy, but with an understanding of how difficult this work is. And I want to give a special thank you. The speaker's been doing this a long time in leadership. She was the one, kind of the glue, who's been there through different governors and different Senate majority leaders, and continues to bring folks back to the table to get solutions. So we had to talk about sassiness, and now we'll get things done. So I am grateful for that. And to the folks who are here, this was about making sure as we came out of COVID, the understanding of the impact that it made, on frontline workers, folks who had to go into work when we didn't know exactly how this was being transmitted, whether it was by touching or whether it was by aerosol of what was happening. Those were the people who were caring for our children, who were working in ICU units. They were people who were delivering groceries or processing food. They were cleaning our buildings. They were doing the things that kept life going forward, and they were doing it in a very dangerous spot. And so this legislative body agreed that we wanted to say not just thank you, we wanted to provide some relief to those families during that time. It's taken us a little while, but we've got it, and that's important. And then also to the small businesses. Folks who knew when folks weren't going out to restaurants, when they weren't going shopping, when they weren't doing the services, they weren't turning their clothes in to be dry cleaned, all of these businesses were out there trying to figure out how did they and themselves get through, but how did their employees get through? And we in this country have an incredible system. Lieutenant Governor often talks about one of the greatest anti-poverty programs we have is the unemployment insurance system, where we have employers pay in, and in a time of need, whether it's a slowdown in the economy or a pandemic or whatever it might be, that safety net was there. And the ability to replenish that, to make sure that small businesses didn't see a tax increase, was absolutely critical. And then to come to an agreement around continuing to manage the pandemic. And in all these things, including that, compromises were made. I did not get everything that I wanted to get there, but what I got is collaboration and cooperation that we would tackle this together. I think that good faith effort, whether it was on UI, on frontline workers, or on the pandemic, bodes incredibly well for Minnesota. It's hard, and I think all of us should not overlook that the folks up here, the legislative leaders, the experts that were brought in, the chairs of the committees, the ranking members who helped craft this, it's just really smart. So I'm grateful to everyone who's here, looking forward to signing this and celebrating with folks who Minnesotans see a win-win-win, and that's what they expect of us. With that, Lieutenant Governor Flanagan.
Thank you, Governor. Well, good morning. Hello. And let's just all be cool with kid noises, because as we are talking today about kids and families, and what we've been able to do for families. Working in a bipartisan way together should be celebrated. So good morning, everybody. I'm really excited to be here on this other side of the room. I know for you all that doesn't feel like a big deal, but it feels like a big change for us. But last July, we worked together to establish a frontline worker working group to provide a proposal to distribute $250 million to frontline workers. That group was not able to come to an agreement, but Minnesota's historic budget surplus allows us the opportunity to recognize the crucial work of our frontline workers, some of whom are here with us today. And that's why our budget called for increasing those frontline worker payments. And today, we are doing just that. And I want to be clear, this is the least we can do for our frontline workers who put themselves at risk to care for us and to ensure that Minnesota could keep moving. They made incredible sacrifices during the worst part of the pandemic. And from nurses in hospitals to those in the service industry to our workers in meat processing plants, every day they showed up to prepare the food that feeds the entire state. And for that, I am so grateful. I had the opportunity, along with Senator Murphy and Representative Frazier, to visit St. Mary's in Worthington, where we heard directly from folks who are working in the meatpacking warehouse, Mulu and Zalima and Fimpa, who all talked about wanting to care for their families, who were worried when they came home, but who continued to do the work. And so I hope that they know today that this is an acknowledgement of the work and their sacrifice, and that the spirit of those women is in this room. Our frontline workers are heroes, and they deserve real and meaningful recognition. And these checks are one way of showing that. And I want to lift up the voices of the legislators who have been consistently at the table, representing and fighting for these workers. You deserve that recognition, and I am grateful for our partnership. Today is a great day, but we can't just stop at checks for frontline workers. We need to make the investments in childcare, earned sick and safe time, and paid family and medical leave so that you don't have to make a choice between going to work and earning a paycheck or putting yourself or others at risk. So this is an incredibly important first step, but I don't know, I think we've got more work to do. We are also committed to doing everything we can to make sure that in the short term and in the long term, we do right by working folks here in Minnesota. So thank you for everyone who's done the work to get us to this moment, and thank you for your partnership in getting this done. I look forward to more opportunities for all of us to work together for people of Minnesota. Thank you so much. And with that, it's my pleasure to introduce Speaker Hortman.
Well, good morning. From the beginning of this session, the highest priority for the Minnesota House DFL has been workers. I've been saying workers first since we started, and I'm glad that today we're delivering. The workers who are on the front lines during the pandemic deserve these bonuses that have been delayed, and they were promised nearly a year ago. These are nurses and long-term care workers, educators, emergency responders, grocery store workers, child care providers, and so many more. These are the workers who couldn't stay home, who kept our communities and our economy going, and who didn't know anything about the virus at the beginning. We had no PPE, we had no plexiglass when you were checking out of the grocery store. Nevertheless, we all remained fed because of these frontline workers. I'm pleased we were finally able to reach an agreement with Senate Republicans to deliver these bonus checks, and at double the amount we had agreed to initially. As a result of this, 667,000 Minnesotans are eligible for checks of up to $750. It's also a positive step to take care of the Unemployment Insurance Trust Fund deficit. Governing in a divided legislature requires give and take from both sides, and I'm glad we got this done. I would be remiss if I didn't mention one of the items that didn't make it into the final agreement, and that is addressing the hourly school workers UI issue. Minnesota's hourly school workers provide essential services that students and families count on. I hope the conversations we had on this issue during negotiations will lead to an agreement later in the session. It is a wrong that we must right. We're now in the final weeks of session, and we still have a lot of work ahead of us. This agreement needs to be the first of many, and I'm hopeful that our work together on this agreement means that there are more to come. House Democrats will continue working to reduce costs for families, improve economic security, support our workers, invest in education, and address public safety challenges. I want to give a special thank you to somebody I don't think very often, the Minority Leader, Kurt Doubt, who did collaborate with us to help push the debate and actually the conflict to get to the point where we could get a resolution. You know, from now until May 23rd, we're all on Team Minnesota. We're not Democrats and Republicans, we are on Team Minnesota. And we have 3 weeks to complete a lot of work for the people of Minnesota, and it will require continued bipartisanship to get things done. And with that, it's my pleasure to introduce Senate Majority Leader Jeremy Miller.
Well, good morning, everyone. Today certainly is an exciting day for the people of Minnesota, especially our frontline workers and small businesses across the state. This is the result of a bipartisan effort. This is the result of Democrats and Republicans working together in the House, in the Senate, together with the administration to getting a positive outcome for the people of Minnesota. We're one of only 2 or 3 divided legislatures in the entire country. As the governor said, this process isn't easy. It's not meant to be easy. And I think this agreement took much longer than any of us had hoped for. But at the same time, I think the outcome was probably better than what most expected. So as the speaker said, we have 3 weeks to go. The next 3 weeks are going to be challenging, but if we all continue to focus on what is best for the people of the state of Minnesota, if Democrats and Republicans continue to work together, I am confident that we can continue to work together and really get good things done for the people of the state of Minnesota, and that's what Senate Republicans are going to be focused on doing. For today, we can celebrate this, but know that there's still a lot of work ahead. And someone's name who hasn't been mentioned yet today, but I just want to thank Commissioner Grove for all his hard work and his efforts in helping get this agreement done, along with everyone else. We have members of both the House and the Senate, both parties, the governor, his administration, staff. So many people have put a lot of time and effort in getting this done, and it is a good reason to celebrate today. So my understanding now, I have a business owner or two who's going to be following. There you go.
Well said, Senator.
My name is Raji from Eads Cleaning Consulting.
Taz Halu.
Well, it's a momentous day for sure. We're really excited to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Governor, and the legislating team. This is exciting, for all of us. I'm a little nervous, first time speaking, so we're clear. But, we're really excited. With the pandemic, has been very tough. It was tough on us. We lost some employees, had a hard time getting to some of our customers' facilities. It was a challenging time, but we're on the front line working alongside our people too as well, and really going to bat. Tez, you want to add something?
Yeah, absolutely. And in trying times like this, we always try to put things in perspective from a standpoint of, with our background being in food manufacturing, we understand the importance of health and safety, especially when it comes to providing these skilled sanitation labor to our clients, that food goes out to hundreds and masses of people. But with that, we try to take that knowledge and bring it to just the most local businesses around us, just because, it shouldn't be just masses. One person matters. Their health and safety matters. Our employees matter. And we just always want to strive to do the right thing for not only our employees, but just for the general population. So with that being said, we really appreciate the legislating team and everyone that got this done, because with this hovering over small businesses, something would have, hit us hard, unforeseen. And for a lot of businesses like ours, if it would have came down to it, we probably, a lot of business probably would have ended up shutting down. So we really appreciate it, and thank you very much for getting this done. And we look forward to, providing more services and continue to really just do the right thing for everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Roger.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Mary C. Turner. I am president of the Minnesota Nurses Association. We represent about 22,000 nurses. 80% of those nurses in Minnesota are at the bedside in our hospitals. But more importantly, over the last couple of years, from the very beginning, I've been a COVID ICU nurse at North Memorial Medical Center in Robbinsdale, Minnesota. So I have been there from the beginning. And guys, I'm sorry, but today I keep pinching myself that we actually did it. And how grateful I am to both the House and the Senate and our executive team and our commissioners and everyone else that fought on behalf of the frontline worker. So I was there in the early days when I was told, and the rest of us were told, that we get one N95 till it falls off our faces. I was there when we didn't know what this entailed, when our nurses would make sure that they changed their clothes and showered before they went home because they didn't want to bring the COVID back to their families. I was there hearing about the families that lived separately and apart for over a year. And it wasn't just the nurses in our hospitals. It was our food service workers, our technicians, our nursing assistants. And then it was so many more people. It was all the people out there doing the work on the outside so that we could do our work on the inside. And so that would be the meat packers, that would be the people who cleaned, that would be our school workers, that would be our grocery frontline workers. All of them were our child care workers, all of them. And if I don't mention you, you know who you are, because I couldn't have done my job in the COVID ICU if it hadn't been for all of those people. So today, the check for $750, it may not seem like a lot, but I'll tell you what, that's going to be, that $750 to the medium income of Minnesota, that equals a month's rent. That equals groceries. That's money that can be put back into their savings accounts. So it is important. And I do thank you over and over again for coming together with this. But we still have work to do. We earn safe and sick time, child care, seeing to the education people, the support people, because I heard story after story how they risked their lives to bring school lunches to children, to keep our children going during the heaviest part of the pandemic. So we cannot forget them. This pandemic showed where we are lacking in our workplaces, where we can do some work. And we cannot go back to what it was like before the pandemic. We just can't. Because if Minnesota wants to stay as great of a state as we are, we need to be the state that everybody follows, so that everyone can go to work and make sure that they are treated justly and can feel safe. And we're the state to do it. And so I have every confidence that all of you guys behind me, you know what I mean? You're all going to work for the betterment of Minnesota. And like I said, I can't believe this day has come. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mary. We'll sign these, then we'll take some questions.
Now we squish. What now? Oh, no, you're good. No, I don't. I'm so tall. I'm so sorry. Brian needs to be more specific when he says down.
Yeah, what do you mean by down?
And I thank you for taking time out of the volleyball game to sign the real one on Friday.
He's playing volleyball.
The other parents were a little dismayed by that. But they went to 5 sets in overtime, so it's good.
This is more than I've ever seen.
I'm glad we do this a while. So, just warming up for the next. I guess it is warming up.
I think this is it. Okay. I wonder how
And
many.
that is how good government can work. Thank
There
you.
we go.
Well, I would note, and again, the folks who feel comfortable up here, as you heard all the speakers talk about, there was a whole lot of people involved in this. Small business owners, we have several of them here, and the impact this makes to them, as well as frontline workers, and hearing from that, so we'd be open. I would also mention we have our commissioners here, Commissioner Robinson, DLI. We have Commissioner Grove. We were doing our part on this as we carry out what the legislature does. We had a lot of back office stuff going on in how do you apply for these and how do we get this fixed. So I would just, I would stress that our team knows there's a sense of urgency on where folks can go to get certified, get on and manage this money and make sure it gets out, and where we can make sure we're getting corrections on the small businesses to make sure they're credited correctly and all of that. The commissioners are here to maybe answer those questions, but this is a positive. I'm really grateful to the legislators who worked on this and all the folks who kept the faith. It does bode well. This is how it's supposed to work, and there's some great leadership standing behind me that made this happen. But we'll be glad to answer your questions.
Your agencies have the website up for the worker bonuses now, but as far as when the portal and the applications can start, when are you telling them to have that up and ready by?
I'm going to have Commissioner, we'll let you work your way through here.
Is there a date, Governor, that you want to be ready by?
Well, I asked, and the question is, I'll let the commissioner talk about this. I said I wanted a realistic expectation of what it takes to do this right. The legislature was incredibly gracious of working with us on what it would take to have the resources to make that happen, but with a sense of expectation it would be done as quickly as possible. We've been talking during this whole time. I kept talking about trying to make sure these checks get out by summer as a way to do it, but I did not give a specific. I just think the fastest, most secure way that we can do this and make sure we do the outreach to as many people. I think there'll be a lot of folks don't know they're eligible, and I wanted that portal to work. So I said when this was passed, we immediately went up online to show, and there'll be some things being filled in, and the commissioner can talk about it.
Good morning. Just this week, we are entering into a contract with our vendor who will be building the system over the next couple weeks. Following the system build, we will have a 45-day application period. We have some built-in time to ensure that we are evaluating these applications as best we can. So they'll, following the 45-day application period, there will be a 15-day appeal process. And following that, then we will be moving very quickly to get the checks out the door. So beginning with the bill, we expect that to occur over the next 3 to 4 weeks. We have an outstanding vendor who have performed this type of work where they are distributing massive amounts. So we have someone that have a degree of experience, and we're fully confident that we will have a system that we will have up and going within the next month. So when you add all of those time frames together, I think that pushes us out to about 10 to 12 weeks before we can reasonably expect that checks will be out the door. But we will be moving as quickly as we can to ensure that, number one, we are doing the outreach to make employees aware that they can apply. I strongly encourage all interested parties to sign up for the website update. Just since Friday, we've had over 90,000 hits to that site, and over 22,000 individuals have already signed up for the updates. So we will continue to push the communications out. At the same time, we will be working on the back end to make sure that as applications come in, we are reviewing them. But one thing to keep in mind is that we will take all applications in before we can make determinations as to exactly what the dollar amount will be. So we will not process any applications or cut checks before all applications are received.
Thank you.
Based on the experience of other states, can you tell whether it gets close to the estimated pool or if it's smaller than that? And what are you learning from the experience other states have had?
My apologies, I don't think I understood your question.
So if there was an estimate of 667,000 people
Yes.
who would be eligible. Based on other states, are you close? Do they get close to the eligibility number, or are they much lower than that? Would people actually have to go and apply and get verified?
Yes.
These legislators who worked on it?
The whole Frontline work coalition.
Sure.
We follow their lead as they came up with the numbers. So, thanks for the question, Brian. So the question around getting close to the estimate, those numbers are based on application process, eligible individuals, and then also the number of folks that would likely apply. And that's based on some of our internal information as well that we work with the agencies to have. So we're pretty confident we think we'll get pretty close to those estimated numbers.
Very good. Anything else?
Commissioner Grove, do you have a sense of now how long it will take for those tax assessments to change now that businesses aren't on the hook for the higher rate?
Yeah, it's a great question. And let me just add my exuberance here for the fact that this is happening. This is not only $500 million into our economy for frontline workers to spend and continue this recovery, but we're saving about $150 to $200 million in tax increases that would have gone to those small businesses if we hadn't stopped these taxes from increasing. We are going to spend the next 7 to 10 days roughly recalculating people's amounts due. So we're ready for this. We're ready to move forward. You can find all this information at uimn.org. There's an extensive FAQ there. Once those tax calculations are redone, you will see in your account that your amount due has changed. We also proactively send a letter out to every Minnesota business. This is about 130 to 140,000 businesses across the state who will receive those letters, and they'll see their new amount. The legislature has given us an extra month here to avoid increasing penalties if you're late, but the taxes are due today. Today is the day the taxes are due, which is why this is a little complex given the timing. But we're ready, we're excited, and this is big news for Minnesota's businesses. So 7 to 10 days until those amounts are shifted in the accounts. And then if you want to request a refund, that'll take a couple of months, we think, because of the need to issue checks and get those out depending on the demand.
So just to clarify, for the businesses that hadn't paid as of today, should they wait for the 7 to 10 days until they get their new assessment so there's not the double transaction?
Taxes are due today. About 70% of Minnesota businesses have already paid those taxes. We expect that number will go up greatly by the end of the day because many businesses sort of set a timer, if you will, and the money heads in on that final day. So our line continues to be, we ask that you pay your taxes. They are due today. That hasn't changed. But those amounts will shift in the next 7 to 10, and we will instantly issue a credit to your account from there forward. And then, again, if you want that refund, you can request it.
We can do one more if there is a.
Caregivers in other industries have said after this bill became law last week that it's a good step, but they're hoping for more meaningful rate changes in the next couple of weeks. Can somebody speak to the work that's being done on that and what they might be able to expect?
Yeah, Senator Miller and I just have barely begun the conversations about the other places in the budget where folks will can look for hope of getting more. As I talked about the hourly school workers, we're hoping that something like that will be addressed in the jobs bill. For nursing home workers, as we look for hiring bonuses and retention bonuses, that's something that could appear in the Health and Human Services area. I know there's been a lot of conversation about retention bonuses in other sectors of the economy, and you'll see in the various budget bills a lot of effort towards making sure that we provide tools for employers to attract and retain the workforce that we need. We know there's a special need, especially in nursing, long-term care, and law enforcement.
Please.
As a member of the Health and Human Services Committee in the Senate, we think it's important not only to focus on retention bonuses, but actual wage increases. When we see worker shortages, I think we have to think about wage shortages, and we should be doing all we can do in these critical infrastructure sectors to make sure that people are being paid a fair wage and they're able to work safely. And that is work of the next 3 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Thanks, everyone, and then
Yeah, we'll do. I'll just wrap, and once again, thanking the folks that are here, a recognition that this is difficult, and I think for all of us to pause today to celebrate what's been done. There's a communication pattern that's kind of the status quo that people expect, the kind of bickering, the blaming, whatever goes on. This was about differences of opinion and then trying to find out and listening to one another to find common ground. And I think over the last week or so, that real focus on listening, hearing what's being said, making sure those members and the public is being heard really bodes well, as I do think this is a win-win-win. And there's a model here. There's a model here for future, these issues that are out there and future compromise. So really grateful. Once again, thank you. And to the Minnesotans who bared the brunt of so much of this, thank you. This is proof positive that there's no politics in this. It's a simple thank you. We're grateful. Our resilience has proven incredibly important to us as we're in a better spot, both economically and in the pandemic. So thank you all. Take a photo?
yes, before you all disperse, let's take it together.
Can you get that in there?
Get together.
Last Sunday night, in the State of the State, I laid out what I thought was the path forward, was this initial compromise of immediate unfinished business, and then some of the midterm stuff that I thought we needed to do, whether it was addressing public safety and some of the things that we need to tackle right now, and then those long-term investments. And I think this built momentum that we're kind of following that order. I think it made logical sense of places where we could find compromise. And I think this bodes incredibly well. You know, the piece in here with the pandemic relief, I think bodes well. And again, the heartfelt commitment that I absolutely believe of legislative leaders, Republican and Democrats, pledging, because, you know, my warning to them was I was asking for about $560 million, and that's the number we thought we needed based on past surges and things. And the amount that we got will get us through to the end of the year without the assumption of a surge coming in October, which my, caution is I think that is probably more likely than not. And there was just a strong commitment that if that's the case, then we'll come and deal with this together. And I think that was a kind of a new sentiment, and I think it kind of sets the tone. So we're meeting this afternoon. We're going through target numbers together. We're trying to clear the areas like agriculture that might have smaller numbers, but more consensus early on. And I think the plan now is to back plan from, the 22nd, when they have to have the bills in, 20 days, back plan out what it's going to take, and then kind of set a day, each day, of this is where we should try and reach this compromise. So, Theo, I think it feels to me like this was a pretty big breakthrough. It was, just a week ago, it was pretty stubborn. We were in a pretty stubborn spot, and it shook loose pretty fairly. For everybody. So I'm hopeful.
I know it's usually one of the last deals of the session, but how are you feeling about a bonding bill? Is there any discussion on that?
Yeah, I'm still feeling good about that. I think there's every reason to believe Senator Bach's been doing this a long time. He says he wants one. It's not quite as robust of what we've asked for, but that's the nature of this. The House has theirs, and Chair Lee will be advocating for those projects. We've been out amongst them. I think they're very bipartisan. I, again, was texting with Representative Juergens about the Hastings Veterans Home over the weekend of what we could do to make sure we're ginning up enough support to get that thing done. It seems to me like members are actively pursuing this. It feels like there's a path to be able to get it. Leadership is, as I said, very skilled at being able to do this. Once it comes time to move, these are professional legislators. They know what it takes to get it to the reviser, to get it done, to get it to my desk. As you said, we cut it a little close, but they delivered that thing Friday evening to the volleyball game to make sure it was done by midnight. And I think they can do it. So I'm hopeful. I think the bonding bill still looks real positive.
Governor, are we going to return to the gang of three? Are you guys going to sit down in cabinet room again for the next?
It didn't happen in this one. It didn't work that way in this one. And I think you heard it in hearing Speaker Hortman talk about Leader Doubt, Kurt's input on this, and Senator Lopez Franson, I would argue was pretty instrumental. It changed the dynamic of the negotiation. There's certain things that as they get close and the chairs are out there simultaneously working on this, we're sitting in there being briefed on what the targets are, but we're not dictating, neither the House or the Senate's dictating to their chairs. There'll be some of the things we'll have to shake loose at the end, but it just feels to me like there's a lot more input that the chairs are, and you'd have to ask them if they're feeling that way. But those chairs, and for example, Senator Dom's on reinsurance. He was there working hand in hand with Representative Stevenson. Those two were doing the negotiations. They brought it at the final minute and got it through. So I think this is a new dynamic. I think it is more inclusive. I'm really, and this is, again, this is me continuing to learn and listen and bring them in. Bringing in those minority leaders was helpful in this deal. They brought things to the table. And I said, serving in the minority in a legislature is a certain type of pain. But these folks, I think, us to think about and leadership to think about bringing them in matters.
Governor, is the outlook for the direct checks, is it dire? I mean, is nothing of that form is in either House or Senate tax bill? How
It's in mine, and everything's got to come through my desk. So yes, it's very much alive. If you want some of this other stuff, these checks and the difference they make, you can feel it amongst the frontline workers. I would argue that relief to all Minnesotans is necessary. I think it's the most fiscally prudent way to make sure we don't create a deficit situation in years out. Minnesotans are overwhelmingly supportive of it, and I'm willing to compromise, but I'm not going to compromise out a top priority of mine, so that's it. And again, if I'm the House, they don't need to bring this and carry and burn their political capital. I've got this. This is on mine. They'll bring their things. So I think that's alive and well.
Is it an essential ingredient to you signing?
Yes, it's an important one. And I'm very careful about not drawing the red lines of what will and will not. There's certain things in there. But this is a very important component of what I think will provide relief to Minnesotans. It'll provide short-term stimulus as a firewall against potential recession in the short run. And it makes the best sense. This is Minnesotans' money. We're trying to get it back into their hands. We'll be talking about investments in education, investments in workplace, as far as paid family leave. Republicans will be talking about permanent tax cuts. There is room for all of those things, but I've made it clear that I think Minnesotans need this now. I think our economy needs it, and I think it relieves some of the tensions families are feeling. So,
Special sessions?
Pardon me?
Have you drawn a red line of special session?
Yes, on that one, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. There's no reason for it. Deadlines, you saw it. April 30th, that date when midnight came, it mattered, and we got things done. And I don't even say that as a pejorative. That is the nature of a deliberative body. You have to have some hard deadlines because this stuff could go on. We were negotiating up to the very minute to try, and I know that the House and the Speaker was negotiating hard, and I'm in full agreement with her. I'm glad she's as tenacious as she is on these hourly workers to get them into the UI system. And she was negotiating up to the final minute. We had to finally pull it on this one, but I think that date is just it. We've got little less than 3 weeks. We've got 20 days. We proved how quickly we can move. We've teed up a lot of these issues. Now it's just reaching some compromise and moving on.
On Thursday, the majority leader said that he did not anticipate bringing up any commissioners for do not confirm votes this session. I assume that's welcome news, but was it a surprise, or is that something you and he have talked about?
It was welcome news. I just assumed that issue had kind of passed. I just think we kind of feel the political zeitgeist. It was not a popular thing to fire these commissioners, and I think that became apparent. Senate has the right to do some of that. Some of you have heard me say this. I appoint about 600 people from the Water Quality Board to the Zoo Board to commissioners. Historically, by this point in the governor's term, about 400 of those are confirmed. Earlier this month, 8 of mine were confirmed. 8. 3 of my commissioners have been fired. So I think that part of it, to kind of let that go, and it was and I'm welcome, and I want to say how I'm grateful that we've kind of put a peace treaty on that, but I'm not going to be super effusive about good for you on this one, because there's a lot that could have been done and done better in this. It's just that we've reached a bit of a détente here. But I will note, they didn't not confirm them, but they did not confirm them. And you got professionals who are sitting in these positions who could go and do other jobs and are kind of left, you know, in political leverage positions. Their job is not to be political leverage. Their job is to get this done. And I do think it bodes well today to hear bipartisan support of the commissioners. So I don't want to ruin this thing by saying that, but I'm still a little, on this one, I'm a little salty about how the commissioners were treated and this lack of movement on confirmations, that I just think some of this has been pretty perfunctory and not been very political. Maybe this is a really good first step to ratcheting that down. But all right, thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.